Well, despite losing both Iowa and New Hampshire to Donald Trump, Nikki Haley is trying to frame those losses as a victory and vows to defeat what she calls a coronation of Trump as the 2024 Republican nominee.
She returned to South Carolina as a political outcast in her own home, seeking to regain her footing a day after her defeat in New Hampshire. Ben Weingarten is a senior contributor with The Federalist, joining us now. And Luke Ball is a former congressional communications director, as well as he's joining us, as well as Melanie Collette, former vice chair of the New Jersey Federation of Republican Women. Thank you all for being on here. We do appreciate that. Good to see all of you here. Ben, I'll start with you on this one. Haley, as we all know, we look at the polls, but now we have some elections to look back on there. We have a primary, we have a caucus to look back. Trump did take it away, but it's not lost on anyone that Haley is piling up delegates as well. But Trump is coming out on top, not only, again, in the primary and the caucus, but she's not going to appear on the caucus in Nevada, so she won't be getting delegates from that state. In South Carolina, just about every politician is backing Trump there. How big is South Carolina for Nikki Haley looking forward, Ben?
Well, frankly, I think that this race is over, but I will say for Nikki Haley, it's big from the perspective of she's going to lose South Carolina by all accounts in the polls, and likely by double digits. How crushing would that loss ultimately be, not only for the present, but for her political future? I mean, to lose in your home state would be devastating. As you noted, the endorsements have already come in from the likes of Senator Tim Scott from the state and others as well. In fact, all of the endorsements ranging across the kind of Republican ideological sphere are coming in for Donald Trump at this point. And then the other practical reality, beyond how important that is from at least an optical standpoint, is she's going to run out of money at some point. She's not going to have donors who are going to continue to support a cause on anything more than some vision of a black swan event that's going to derail Donald Trump, and thus, as she accumulates a small fraction of delegates, that's going to make a difference down the road. So I think this is, for all intents and purposes, over. South Carolina could be potentially devastating for her in the near, medium, and long term.
Okay, Ben, great point. Fascinating. Rest of the panel, if you guys could stand by, we've got some breaking political panels standing by. Let's bring them back in, and thank you for being so flexible with us. We're going to switch gears and obviously talk about what we just heard there. So, Melanie, you know, we've got people storming into the office spaces of sitting senators. They are demanding changes for potential legislation. What'd you make of it?
Yeah, I found it interesting that she's saying that Senator McConnell is not listening to the American people because this one person seems to have the pulse of the American people and how they feel about Israel. Listen, they're exercising their constitutional right, and we live in a great country where you're able to do that, but I certainly don't agree with that position.
And Luke Ball, bringing you back into this, I mean, we've seen protests erupt while Biden's on the campaign trail for his re-election campaign trail. He's been interrupted multiple times. Now you have it there at the Capitol building. Senators now seeing it, calling this the anti-Israel protest, calling for no money being sent to Israel, stop supporting the war. And she's the lady that we spoke with, she's citing polling, but saying that's really the pulse of America. Luke Ball, would you disagree with that?
Yeah, I would disagree with that. I don't believe that when people go and storm offices on Capitol Hill that they are saying that we have all of the information. Rather, they have an agenda at play. And I wonder if they have been protesting against the Hamas terrorists that poured into Israel and slaughtered innocent civilians. I wonder if they're protesting against the radical Islamic terrorists who raped and pillaged these various villages in Israel and in these settlements. And I wonder if they're going against them in addition to going against this funding. I believe that you can have a foreign policy stance of non-interventionism, but you also must call out the barbaric actions of the terrorists themselves who are coming into these sovereign nations and destroying men, women, and children. I haven't seen a lot of protests from the left on that. And just scanning their website very quickly while I was in the break there for a second, I really didn't see any of the calls against the Hamas terrorism. I wonder if this is just anti-Israel sentiment, which sometimes just amounts to anti-Semitism. So I want to see where they're protesting against the Hamas terrorists rather than just going in and protesting against funding for a war.
Yeah, great points. Thank you, panel, for being so flexible with us today. Ben Weingarten, Luke Ball, and Melanie Collette. Thank you. Appreciate it.